Neuropathy in my feet has disappeared. My feet were not totally numb. I was getting tingles. And for the last couple of days before I received the device, they weren't totally numb, but I could still feel them. And once I got the device, it was like they were back to normal.
Hey, Shane, thanks for coming to spend some time with me today.
Hi, you're welcome. Glad to be here.
Awesome. So can we start off chatting a little bit about where you were prior to coming to QHS?
I was in LWS for quite a while. As I recall, you were in LWS too, were you not?
Oh, I still help Ron, yeah.
I thought so. I remembered seeing some of your videos and stuff. Anyway, I was in LWS. Before that, I had been in another currency group that I got out of due to the fact that it was kind of a negative kind of feeling all the time. The individual was a self-proclaimed reptilian, and that just never worked. And I understood why I felt that way. So I got out of it and was on my own for maybe a year. And then a friend of mine was in LWS, so I went there. And I'm really comfortable with Ron and everything he's doing. And then when he started talking about this new group that he was just getting familiar with, QHS, I went, if he's for it, then there's a good chance that I can have whatever issues I have health-wise recovered or healed and press on from there.
Nice. So what issues did you bring to the table?
Well, once I filled out your the initial survey, I thought, wow, I didn't know I was this screwed up. But
no judgment.
no, well, hey, it's me. It's all mine. I own it. It's mine. I have high blood pressure. I was not seriously overweight, but some. I have high blood pressure, diabetes. At the time, I had some foot issues with the neuropathy for the diabetes. High cholesterol. I was also told that I was in stage 3A for kidney disease. At that time, my mother also has some kidney disease. She's a little more advanced than I am, but there's really nothing can be done with it. It's just
really,
yeah. The doctor told me about the only thing we can do for 3A is we make sure that you're on lisinopril, which I do take and have taken for quite some time, and we just monitor it. Not really anything else you can do. If you get down to stage 1, or I'm sorry, stage 4 or 5, you're on like dialysis. So I really, really not want to be that in that stage.
of course, yeah.
But if I didn't know, well, if I didn't have these tests, I wouldn't know I was sick. I feel pretty good all the time.
Fabulous.
And I've been documenting what's been going on with the QT Wave device since I received it on May 3rd, and things have been getting better. I was wondering about the hair tests, hair samples that had been mentioned on 1 or 2 of the previous calls I've been on, and I wouldn't mind doing that just to see how my system is overall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what have you noticed since you received your device? What changes have you been able to realize?
The neuropathy in my feet has disappeared.
Already?
Yeah. Within 2 or 3 days, it was gone.
Wow.
Yeah, that fast. I was surprised and thrilled. My feet were not totally numb. I was getting tingles. And for the last couple of days before I received the device, they weren't totally numb, but I could still feel them. And once I got the device, it was like they were back to normal. Within a couple
Nice.
of days, 2, 3 days at the most. I did notice that within a couple of days, my eyesight was improving. I think that I burned a torus. You know what a donut looks like?
Uh-huh.
Most people do. Technically, it's called a torus. And I had a torus in both of my eyes. It was like looking through a gun sight. If you've ever looked through a gun sight, you know what I'm talking about. Okay. It's like a big O, and I'm looking through the hole, the donut hole, and that's how I was able to focus and see what was going on around me. And this was like that for a couple of years. I was really nervous when I had to drive anywhere.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, I'm hearing you say you have no peripheral vision.
No, my peripheral vision was fine. I
Huh.
could see everything around the donut hole, everything around the torus, the outside of the torus. But when I was close to a stop sign, if I looked at the stop sign, a stop light right in front of me, and where it was clear in the donut hole, I could not see the left or right stoplights. They were covered by the torus and were totally blank. It was like opaque. I could not see through it. Okay. That was before I got the device. Today, the torus is mostly gone. I can still
Wow.
see it a little bit, but my vision is mostly clear from that. Even if there's something in the torus, I can see it somewhat. It's not as good as brand new, but it's getting a whole lot better.
Wow. That's a game changer.
It is, yeah.
I mean, sight is so important, especially for your safety,
Yeah, well, I have a good idea what my friends with diabetes that he went undiagnosed for so long. He had to have regular sized TV screens to be able to see his computer. It had to be like a 45-inch screen before he could really see what was going on the computer. And there was no way I wanted to get that way. I've got a 24-inch screen and a 22-inch screen that are not mirrored, but shared across my screen. So I've got fairly good screen area. And it's to the point with my sight that I could get away with just the one screen and be happy, but I like the extra real estate to work with. It's a lot easier to work with 2 screens. And you spread the windows out and you do all kinds of things with it. Much simpler. You being a technical sort, you probably noticed that yourself.
Oh, I have a laptop, but my son has that because he does video and pictures and stuff. So he has 2 screens.
Does your laptop have an HDMI port?
I'm not sure what an HDMI port is, so I'm going to guess no.
Well, how new is your computer?
Well, it's a MacBook.
Yeah,
So
HDMI.
really?
Yeah, it's on the side. It's about a 1/2 inch wide and it's pretty thin. It's not a USB port, but check that out later.
Okay.
If you do have the HDMI port, then you can have a second screen that does HDMI and an HDMI cord, plug them up and they'll work. You share the screen, at least while the MacBook is open, and it'll probably do it automatically and give you the second screen to work with.
Huh. I'm gonna have to try that perhaps.
Yes. Your son could probably pull his in and show it to you.
Yeah, I'm sure. My kids are, I have 2 kids home today, so they're techies. So
Okay.
what, talk more about what you've learned or what you have realized and noticed with your health improvements. I love hearing this stuff.
I've got tinnitus in both ears. I've had it since, ironically, since I got out of the Air Force in 96. I've been out
Wow.
since 96, and my ears ring constantly, full time, all night, all day, 24/7, 365. Nothing I can do about it. I have had it checked out. They were at one time trying to give me some hearing aids that they thought would use white noise to blank out the rigging. And they couldn't quite dial it in at any time. It's around 6,000 hertz. And they just couldn't dial it in. So I ended up, after about a 3-month trial period, just giving them back to the VA. And they were top of the line hearing aids, but they just didn't do me any good. It didn't help my ringing. Well, I did get some improvement from the device once I received it. I think it probably cut the ringing down about 50%. It's still there and it's still full time. I have not seen any improvement since probably the first 3 or 4 days. But I'm hoping that if I keep wearing them, as my eyesight improves, maybe it'll have time to work on the hearing. I don't know how it's programmed to do that kind of stuff. So that would be one question I have. Can you direct it? You know, like meditation, direct the Twine to work on my hearing rather
You
than.
know what I understand about frequency and energy is it goes for the priorities, which you might not even know about. And so it's like peeling the layers of the onion. It takes out the most important first, and then it gets down smaller and smaller. So maybe for you, the tinnitus is the most important, but perhaps there's something else that.
Now my eyesight's number one.
Well, there
Yeah,
you go.
there
Let's
is no
fix
doubt.
that.
Yes. And the number 2 issue is my hearing.
The ringing in the ear, right?
Yeah,
The tinnitus.
that's totally annoying. I mean, you ask my wife, that TV is cranked up loud enough that she can probably hear it like in a closed door in the other end of the house. But that's what I need to be able to hear it.
Well, you can command your body to better accept the frequencies and command your spirit to better accept the frequencies from the QT Wave device and work on your hearing.
Okay, I'll do that.
It wouldn't hurt.
It can,
Ron does that.
It can't hurt, that's for sure. Well, it can only get better, right?
Oh yeah. And it's just going to take a minute. I can't believe you've only had yours less than a month.
Mm-hmm. May 3rd.
That's amazing. How's your blood pressure? Have you noticed anything with that?
It has come down some. Normally I was in the 130 to 140 range to anywhere between 85 and 90 for the bottom number. I used to know what they were, systolic and diastolic, whatever they are. And you can take a look, maybe have somebody who does have access to it, take a look at it, because I've got 18 or 19 days worth of data on the blood pressure. It has been coming down. Normally, like today, I think I was 127/76.
Wow.
Which my doctor, and I just saw the doctor on the 15th, he was quite impressed with my numbers for the last 2 weeks. And most of the time they're in the 120 range to the 70 range.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, I'm quite happy with the blood pressure because blood pressure has a lot to do with eyesight too.
Hmm.
And the diabetes, all of that, it deals with everything.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, everything's connected, right? Um, so I think that everything relies on the health and well-being of the other parts of us. I mean, Cynthia has said, which I found so fascinating, is that every piece of our body has a frequency. And if you were to get an organ removed, they leave the tail of that organ so that that frequency of that body part or that is still in your body, because without it, you would die. And
Oh, yeah,
so
okay.
my assumption is that so say a person like Cynthia, I think, is missing her gallbladder or something, and if they leave, or appendix, they leave like the tail, and then perhaps that's how it's going to grow back in the Q arc, because it still has that frequency. I think of it like a lizard, right? The tail gets cut off and it regrows. So
Through my spiritual reading, I have read things about people who have organs replaced, and they have to have their chakra around that organ renewed or rebuilt to work with the new organ, like say heart surgery. I mean, yeah, so I could see
interesting.
why they would leave a part of that there.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting because everything has its own frequency, and yeah, so maybe that would work.
Well, that's kind of why I jumped on this thing when I first heard about it from Ron. Um, I've done with a lot of reading, they're always talking about frequency and healing. And apparently you've got a way, or QHS has a way to use the frequencies to do the healing on a human body. So I'm all for it. Yeah.
Right. I love it because I feel like it's foundational, you know?
I'm looking forward to getting that, either the HHS or the Q arc when it shows up.
Oh yeah. And that's what brings me to my last question, is now you get to take all this wisdom, knowledge, and experience you've gathered through the decades and apply it to basically a younger body, a renewed life with your
Yeah.
do-over. What
Well,
excites you about that? What are you gonna do?
well, I've also volunteered for the Valor Project.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I got a response back. I'm awaiting a scheduled interview, and we'll see what happens from there.
Nice.
I've got, well, you get what, 7 people with the Q arc you can do?
The home health. There's 7.
7 on the home health. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've got at least 4 with my family I want to run through there. And that leaves me 3 I can play with on the first one. And I also have my wife's donation put in, so it's started. We'll work on that after I get mine paid for, and that'll give us 7 more slots we can use. And I've got some friends I would like to run through there too.
Well, here's the cool thing about the home health system is that anybody, any living thing, plants, animals, humans, that come into your home with a home healing system will be affected by it. So if you have a party of Alfredo had a big dinner party and didn't tell anybody that he had his home health system on in the room, and the next day they were like, I feel amazing, you know, and they were like not sure what it was. So you're not limited to 7, just 7 that actually are initiated inside the system, you know, but
Okay.
you can invite anybody into your home and they'll feel the benefits.
Okay. Well, that's cool. How long does it take to do a rejuvenation back to 30 years old?
We haven't done our proof of concept study, so no idea.
Okay.
So yeah, stay tuned. The admin team has to do the proof of concept study, and then we'll let you guys all know. But
Okay.
it's an exciting thing. So, but what are you excited about doing after your visit to the QARC?
You know, well, if it comes with the blessing, RV release, then I'll have all kinds of time to do all the humanitarian projects worldwide that need to be done. Because with what I have, and plus the SKRs that I have from Ron, that's basically an unlimited amount of funds to put towards humanitarian projects. And if I can't think of one, well, I'm sure there's others. The Galactics can tell us, if nothing else, what we need to do or should do. And we decide if we want to do that. And most of the time, if I can see the benefit to it, I'm going to do it.
Right
Not
on.
necessarily for me, but for, those that the benefit applies to, yeah, make it happen. Because that's what it's
Yeah,
all
and
about.
now you'll have a more youthful body, so you'll have more energy to do all that, right?
Right. I mean, everything's going to be better. And then the more people you get, the better off you'll be, especially with the LWS programs. And nobody will have to work other than what they want to do. And they'll have a lifetime income coming in. And if I can help make that happen, so much the better.
Mm-hmm. Well, I feel like we are going to need people to work in order to keep things going, so he's going to do a wealth series called The Art of Contribution.
Mhm.
And so it's all about being a contributing factor to society, because it's important for the gears to, keep going until we don't have to go anymore,
Mhm.
So I don't know how that's going to shake out exactly, but it is pretty cool that those who need to stay home can and not have to live in poverty.
Now I'm looking at you rather than having you. Let me move this over a little bit. I don't need to look at myself. Now it looks like I'm looking at you, I hope, rather than talking over here somewhere.
I wasn't even paying attention to that.
Okay.
So you're excited to do humanitarian projects, is what I'm hearing you say. Is there
Yes.
anything personal just for you, Shane, that you're looking forward to?
Well, we thought of a ham radio project. I'm a ham radio operator, and the guy that I'm working with, we thought of a project that's called Ham Radio Central, where we buy some property and get some antennas set up and make it available to the ham radio community in the Las Vegas area. And we teach classes on ham radio licensing. It's really not hard to get a ham radio license. The technician license takes maybe, say, 8 sessions of 2 hours a day, hitting the book. And the book is a complete book as far as the test goes. It has all of the answers and all of the questions and a bunch of supporting data that goes with it. So if you can read and understand the book, you can pass that test. It's only a 35 question test, and you only need 70% to pass.
My son did that a few months ago. What's the purpose of it all, though?
Ham radio is basically a fun hobby. There's a kind of a funny acronym for ham, and it's had a lot of money. It's not a cheap hobby. It can be expensive, but one benefit to it, if you remember Hurricane Katrina back in New Orleans, After that happened, there was only one operating means of communication left for the entire New Orleans area.
Oh,
It was a
wow.
ham radio operator who had his own equipment, and he was able to get messages in and out to people stranded in New Orleans until FEMA was able to get their own communications set up. So that's the primary thing for ham radio, is it's used in emergency situations. The radios work all of the time. There's nothing going to stop them from working. Like, for instance, your cell phone. If the tower goes out, your cell phone's useless.
Yeah, that's a good point, huh?
Yeah. Cell phones are great, but they have to have a tower to ping off of and connect to. And then if the whole system goes down, all of the towers in the whole city, the city's on its own.
Oh, so that you're kind of like this emergency liaison to help the people in the community.
You bet.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Most of the cities have their own organizations, emergency systems that they use, and ham radio is a fairly good sized part of that. So
Okay.
there's actual uses to it other than just fun. But if you're not fun, you're not, I'm sorry, if you're not having fun, you're not doing it right.
That's awesome. Yeah, I don't know what he does with it at all because he doesn't live here, but I do know he was home studying like crazy for that test. So
Okay.
that was good. Well, that sounds exciting. I'm so happy that you're a humanitarian and you've got your projects, and especially the Valor Project. That is going to be a beautiful thing to help our veterans.
Mm-hmm.
So that's wonderful, Shane. And I'm so happy you've had such fast improvements. I mean, that's really, really amazing that just in a few weeks.
I was amazed, yeah,
Good for
and
you.
grateful. I mean, it was first time in a couple of years, maybe 3 years, that I haven't been so worried about my eyesight.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's an important thing. So I'm happy to hear that. Keep us posted on your progress as well
I
for
do.
that.
I do a diary every day
Good for
just to keep
you.
track of it.
Well, thank you for doing that.